Hello. I Today I'm gonna play a little Book of Hours, um, the game in the Secret Histories setting, of which there are a couple other games. Traveling at Night is currently in development, and the demo for that one I have tomorrow. I was thinking about streaming. Well, maybe we'll see. In preparation for that, wanted to kind of brush up on some of the other games in the setting. For games by the studio Weather Factory. The first game in the setting is Cultist Simulator, and I just went back to that one. I was playing it off stream a couple days over the last week or so, and the game is a little bit more can be a little bit more punishing in that there are very strict conditions for losing a run. I just finished my first victory in that game. I played it a few times before over the years and bounced off of it a couple of times just because not taking the time to figure out the mechanics, I would, lose runs to silly things that I couldn't figure out how to deal with. Anyway, I've returned to that and just finished a run, like I said, and I thought I'd get some time in on Book of Hours as well. And I figured this one is a little bit more chill and cozy, so I'd stream it. Probably not going to go through a full playthrough in the span of a single stream, but I'll play and see how far I get, and I may revisit it again in the future, but yeah, like I said, doing this mostly in preparation just to brush up on some of these histories a little more in anticipation of the Traveling at Night demo coming out, which should be coming out tomorrow. That said, oh, and just a little bit of my history with this game, Book of Hours in particular. I think I have a little over 200 hours in it, according to Steam anyway. Some of that is, some idle time, but I have not actually finished a playthrough, although my most recent one was very close to finishing in one way or another. I haven't done much with the DLC, although I have it installed for this, and I'll mention parts about that when we get into the game. The DLC is called House of Light. Anyway, let's go ahead and hop in. I'm doing a new game. Brandkrug, March 7th, 1936. There has been no librarian at Hush House since the fire, 7 years now. Suitable candidates are very difficult to find, but perhaps we have found one in you. Take care on your journey. The seas around Brandkrug are treacherous. Cold comes first, thunder growling, waves pounding, and finally me sprawled on the sodden sand of the beach. There's something in my hand. Health half drowned. Shivers rack my soaked body. Your health is failing. Find somewhere to warm up. A memory storm. There are storms great enough to shake the moon from the sky and one's thoughts from one's skull. Drowned book. The one possession I kept from the shipwreck. It must be important to me. Aspects below tell you more about how and where you can use this item. Hover over them to learn. This book is a thing. The gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is servant to things. Erjun. Readable, there are worse things to put in your eyes than this. Journal, I began before this book will end when I do. And it is soaked. Peril of dissolution. Intervene quickly, but not hastily. It's been a while since I've played this. It will take me to get my footing. So we're washed up from a shipwreck. We're at St. Anne's Cove. Here the sea ends and the world begins, or the other way around. After storms, the fishermen of Brandkrug village find autumn. This place lies beyond. Okay, so I have a verb over here. Remember, what do I have left to work with? Salvage. Anything that matches the aspects below can go into this slot, so this whole a memory of the storm, or something soaked book. I can't remember exactly, but the three things we have can go in this. I remember, perhaps this book can help me put the pieces together. Salvage and storm didn't take everything. Freezing fingers. The book's in bad shape and I'm not much better. We're both in need of warm, dry, safe place. Storm in here. There was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg, but I seized me. And the sea brought me here to Brancrug. So... I remember. It was a storm. It smashed the ship like an egg. This book is the sea seized me. Then the sea brought me here to Brancrug, and Brancrug is where I wanted to be. Hard to remember why. What else did I lose in the storm? Core is exuberant. Instinct, rhythm, do those mean something to you? Pet is the part of us which dreams. Are dreams important? Craft is eloquence and also understanding. Core opens both ways. My soul open to knowledge. So, I think we choose one of these three, and then we'll get another set, choose one of that set, and that sort of determines the down. Not sure what happens when it does. So this is sort of like the character creation of the game. The game is a role-playing game in the sense that you have a character that, depending on your starting choices, has a different history or background, and then they obviously have different elements that they, or you could think of them as like stats that they start the game with, and that will sort of determine, at least at the early stages of the game, how you're able to progress. My previous playthrough, I think I did ore and metal, so I don't want to do that again, but take ore and then okay, so I think I collect all of these and then one of them. Or oh wait. Okay. What remains of me? Instinct? The human soul has 9 parts. Exuberance, enthusiasm, instinct all rise from part of the soul we call core. Core strong, when we cover this, the other 2 possibilities will be lost to the... let's just... Part of the soul that dream. Can rise from the part of the soul we call. So, instead, I think I want to go core. Also, I'm tuning in now or later. I have been tweaking the audio settings a little bit on my stream, so if anything's off, be to know, and I'll make adjustments. Coast where Brancrug Isle lies. It wasn't easy to come here, but I don't give up. And so, I know there's no way I can cross to... I'll need to find shelter for the night. Oh. And Twist. Twist is the name, the memory, that part which remains. Is it important to me that things endure? Faust. Faust is sight, perception, inspiration, all the glory's gifts. Is soul a bright soul? Metal. Metal is the capacity for meaningful choice. Did I prove my metal? Arab. Arab is pride, compassion, hatred, and fear. Do those passions burn in me? What remains of me? Is the soul's memory the true name scratched on the cornerstone remains after the soul has passed? Lost is the light within, sight, perception, inspiration. This also gives you, I guess, hints at what your background will be based on the choice of the previous one and in combination with this one. Choose a strong list and a past. Sought voices that had fallen silent. Waves will wash away others for now. Choose a strong past and a past with a pursuer who can see the light within you. Strong metal and a past where you made mistakes. Reb and a past where your passions were paramount. I like. There are still things I don't remember, but I do remember there's someone in the village who will give me sanctuary if I can get there. When added to your journal, you can begin to investigate them when you and your journal are both. Old friend's address. Mr. Kill is the coffin maker of Brainkrug I once wrote, mainly of his poetry. Home's always open to me, though he's asked me never to mention poetry in front of Mrs. Kill. I can find shelter for tonight under the roof once I've reached Brainkrug village. This is an introduction, and it has the aspect of adventure. Adventure is the principle of silence and of ending, of silence, of endings, and of those things that are not quite. So our book now has an aspect of sky, wind, storm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics and the principles of life. Law's touch is lighter than we sometimes. Matters of balance, harmony, and necessity. And it has a re-enter. Now, it's to Brainkrug Village, sanctuary in the storm. I'll need help to climb the cliffs in the dark, and the locals are suspicious of outsiders, more than ever so since the restoration and the new. This we need fence, and then in bitten. Here are the types. For here, hence aspects of moon and or winter to the second thought. So we do have new up over here. Shelter. Brandkrug village must be nearby, but it's hard going dragging my soaked body across the soaked sand in the teeth of this wind. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. Above me, atop the cliffs, lies Brandkrug village. I'll never reach it in this storm, but if I can only muster my remaining strength to find out. So, we can use over here. Perhaps something in the wind. My instinct tells me it might be this way, and without a map, instinct is as good a compass as. The cliffs grow dark against the ragged stars, and then at last I see the hurricane lamp bobbing in the dark. It approaches, a face glimmers above the assistance. Fisherman from Brandkrug village. He can guide me up the cliff path if he trusts me. The aspects below tell you more about how and where you can use this card. There's aspects of moon and sky. Secrets are soft. Night is softer. The sea speaks. It is not always wise to eternal, forgotten. Trust can be bought or earned. Librarian lives alone. No shame in seeking assistance from others. Assistance can open new rooms or help with your studies. It disappears when used or reluctant. Someone who will provide help, but only essential. We won't be able to use him in here right away because he's skeptical. Because he's relevant. So to him, come no closer. What's thy business? Our old friend. Be someone that'll speak for ye. Of course, since 1930 and the Restoration, locals have grown ever more suspicious of foreigners, but there is someone in Brandkrug I know. I'll take ye by the cliffs then. Gentleman is no longer skeptical. Use him to unlock Brandkrug village. And now we have access to the village. So this is up here. Just go through. The Sweet Bones, locked. After the Restoration of 1930, the new king's agents came looking for his enemies in these parts, and they weren't gentle about it. Since those days, the locals are suspicious of foreigners. No one in the Sweet Bones will talk to me. Be of hostile. Smithy. Smith has more work than he needs, and he rarely opens his door. Production or a mutual acquaintance marked with edge, forge, or heart. Someone in a similar trade, or someone who can appeal. Looking for saffron cake. Postmistress may have something for me once I know what to ask for. Rectory. Reverend Timothy is a hospitable soul, but Terence, his housekeeper, guards her employer fiercely. She doesn't want his innocent theological enthusiasms getting him in trouble with the new men. Introduction or a mutual acquaintance marked with lanterns not sky, perhaps someone who shares his interests in theology or poetry. And Mr. and Mrs. Kill. Kill, the midwife, is tall and gloomy. Mr. Kill, the undertaker, is slight and wry. In these troubled times, both are wary of need a suitably marked introduction. Mr. Kill struggles with the door, the wind almost snatches it from him. Warm wind plucks it. Element of the soul. Mr. Kill struggles with the door, the wind almost snatches it from his eyes widen as he sees it. Take shelter with the Kills. Mr. Kill constructed the bed himself. I rather fear with the same tools he uses to shape coffin. It is not a comfortable bed, but it's dry, clean, and warm. I sit up talking with Mr. and Mrs. K as the wind rattles the shutters and the fire shrugs its way amberward. I'm very hungry, and Mrs. K's galettes are impossibly good. Mr. K pretends to grumble about foreign cooking. No one's convinced. Her health has been restored. Health, the dwelling place of the soul. The ninth of the 9 parts of the soul, the only one that can be touched. And a memory, satisfaction. Some appetites are easier to satisfy than others. As the aspect of Grail and of heart. Grail, the hunger, lust, the drowning waters. The principle of the Grail honors both the birth and the feast. Heart. The heart relentless beats to protect the end of the world we understand. Okay, so the time is now progressing. It is currently look at this mist-cloaked bridge. Every so often someone builds a bridge to the Isle. Each bridge lasts 100 years or 200, then the sea disposes of it. This was built in the 90s, and that makes this bridge, but that doesn't make it new. Hush House has been empty for 7 years. Those 7 years have rendered the bridge perilous. Fence and specs. Forge is fire. I once read is forms in the spring that consumes. The principle of forge transforms and destroys. Lantern. Life is a pure flame, and we visible sun within us. Thomas Brown. Lantern is the principle of the secret place, sometimes house of the sun, and of the light above it. windstorm, echo, song, the intricacies of mathematics, and the principles of flight. Lost touch is lighter than we sometimes think. Balance, harmony, and necessity. Okay. Mr. Kill always enjoys a chance to catch up with me. Offer help as assistance from Mr. Kill. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend. Yes, we could. Mrs. Kill, gloomy as always, kind as ever, lights the kitchen fire and helps me dry the book while Mr. Kill saws away in the next room. Earth always leaves marks, she opines. She carefully tucks muslin between the damp pages. Let's actually wait a second. So now we have Maker's assistants. Tamer of trees, a worker of woods, a consigner of cadavers. He has also been known to try his hand very diffidently at poetry. So he has the aspects of sky, winter. Let's get across the bridge here. Hush House has been many things over the centuries, including in the nocturnal period of 1896 to 1929, a jail. No one remembers that period fondly, but at least it meant nocturnal branch paid for a new bridge. Unlock here, bridge. Lodge at the gate. A cottage where Hush House's groundskeeper lived until the fire. If I can get into the place and make it habitable, I can use it as a base for reclaiming more of the house. The local blacksmith can defeat the door. The rector probably has a spare key. Midwife knows how to jiggle the latch on the back door. So for this, we'll again need assistance. And we'll need forge or knock. And to enlist the aid of Mr. Kill, we need our Whist, which has the aspect of winter. Mrs. Kill, we need Braille. We have on our core, but it's currently fatigued, so we'll have I can't remember. I guess we'll find out once we try out the book. That's if I've wasted some. Actually, wait, hang on. This needs an element. I was thinking for a second that I might be able to recruit them with a memory, but no, it requires an element of the soul. Which I guess you could think of like spending some amount of effort or time. So, notice our memories have disappeared overnight, but our elements are refreshed. Okay. And again, we have a hint here that fit in there with Mrs. Kill's help. Our core here. Speak with Mrs. Kill. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. If you don't choose a topic, Mrs. Kill will offer help as a friend. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says mostly. And today we'll get a new weather effect. Rain. Each kind of weather brings its own influence. I can make use of these as a memory. Go away at the end of the day. One has aspects of Grail and Nectar. Nectar we haven't read yet. Nectar, the green wealth in the world's veins, the pulse of the seasons. Long ago, someone called this principle blood. Hello, Shurkan. No, this isn't my first playthrough. I have a couple hundred hours in the game according to Steam. I haven't finished a full playthrough yet, but I've gotten fairly close to what I would assume is the end. I've unlocked the whole house before, and I was getting, preparing to record history in my journal. I had set the game down a while back, and I figured rather than I always get a little overwhelmed returning to a save where I'm kind of deep into a game, and it's been a while, and I don't remember, necessarily what I was trying to accomplish. And then also, with the Traveling at Night demo coming out tomorrow, I believe, I just wanted to start a fresh save and just kind of revisit and play a little bit, kind of brush up on some Secret Histories lore. So that's what I'm doing. How about you? You experience with the game? Okay, so we have the midwife's assistants. Somber as autumn, as kind as autumn, she also likes her beer. Walking Lodge at the gate. Wait for that. Played Book of Hours for 100 hours. Yeah, it's a good game. I quite like the pacing of it compared to Cultist Simulator, which I just finished my first victory, or like one of the major victories in Cultist Simulator. And that was another game that I had played a number of times in the past, but kind of bounced off of, and I just went back to it this last week. Again, trying to brush up on Secret Histories lore in anticipation of Traveling at Night. And yeah, and then moving on to Book of Hours now. But yeah, between the two games, I think I kind of prefer Book of Hours. I think like just not feeling necessarily pressure in the same way of just, you know, you can kind of lose a run if you're not prepared to deal with this mechanic. And then I also I love the art in this game. Now we've unlocked the outline of the house, and just seeing this for the first time, seeing all these rooms, and kind of figuring out, you know, the puzzles to unlock each individual one. Enjoy a lot, and then you just have so many books that you get to read, these fun little descriptions on, and the little lore objects in the game. Quite fun. Have the Keeper's Lodge unlocked. Between these two games, you prefer Book of Hours. It's calmer, doesn't rush you, doesn't force you to constantly monitor your resources. Okay, they're similar but very different. Yeah, I definitely tend to agree there. Okay, the Keeper's Lodge. For 500 years, in the times we call baronial, curia, nocturnal, there was always a keeper to watch the ways, weed the gardens, mend the roof when the sun was shining. There is no keeper now, but the lodge's roof still weathers the storms of Brenkirk Bay. So we have books now. But we don't necessarily have a way to them. I can't remember. Study without using it. But of course we'll need the appropriate level of aspect to study them. And then we have uncatalogued books. We have go over every object in them. Then we have the next the house to unlock, the Great Gate of the House. The walls of the house tower above me. I had been told that it was abandoned after a fire, but there is no sign. Building will no doubt need restoration, but it's in better shape than I feared. Books are the memory that does not die, reads the inscription above it. Here, what we need is the key. Hush House key. Heavy enough that it takes both hands to turn, heavy enough to brain someone, though you'd need hands for that too. Use the key. And what else do we want to do? Remember... We can dry out our journal here. Need care as well as warmth and time. But with great care. And then Since we have one other element currently, let's see. I think there's something we might be able to do with our journal. We'll see. Otherwise, we'll probably just catalog one of these uncatalogued books. Another treasure saved from the sea, a feathered book. The feathers that adorn its cover are bedraggled from its time in the sea. Let's do this. Soul's Labors. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested. Studying requires effort. You'll always need a suitable soul card first. Then do my journal. Feathered cover is familiar, but the storm so scattered my thoughts. And we unlocked the Watchman's Tower Gatehouse. Back in the 11th century, Brian of Brittany built the tower and its gate to protect St. Brandon's Abbey, as Hush House was then known. Later, the Barons de Wolf strengthened the gate against their many enemies. A long time now since Hush House was any kind of fortress, and by the time the scholars of the Curia took possession, this place had long been a comfortable waiting room for visitors to the house too minor to merit immediate attention. Bust of Sir Blackwood. But us access to our next two rooms. So you have the gatehouse stairs and cloistered garden. Requires either 2 lantern or 2 nectar. This requires 2 lantern or 2 fish. Nice if we had another free element of the soul today, because we could use the to get into the cloistered garden, or not the rain weather. My journal. I'm sure of it. The storm scattered my thoughts, but each page I turn is familiar. Begin to recall now why I came here and the knowledge I yearn for. More about your origin and your aspirations in your journal. Now access the Tree of Wisdom from the top of this. And yes, this a core. Feather Deck Journal. In Caer Adar, I heard the secret gods speak one to another. Thought that would be the end of my journey, but the more I heard, the more I knew I must be missing. I am the librarian of Hush House, and I will find what has been lost. Simmer just came to Hush House to find a history with the songs that have fallen to silence. You can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with birdsong wisdom. Memories, the Simmergist. eavesdropped on the songs of the aviform hours. I'd heard the warnings. I'd lose my mind, my soul, my skin. All those things are true, but no one ever warns you what happens if you get away with it. Which is to say, after that, there doesn't seem to be anything else worth hearing. Okay. So it's still have property, must be winter. Remember, let's study it further, and I can't remember some more elements in a while. But I think we should make use of this rain. It's currently midday, so we have plenty of time left. So go to Mrs. Kill again. Kill stands ready to help. You always as morosely. Also, now that we've dried out our journal, unlock the post office. Not soaked. For me, the postmistress regards me with the chilly gaze of a goddess image in an ancient hill shrine. The librarian, she says, yes, I have something for you. Wait here, please. And talk to Kill about the weather. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she really lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. Add something to enhance Mrs. Kill's effectiveness for the day, or just talk. With some assistance, Mrs. Kill can make use of fabric. About the weather. More useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. The influences of the turning skies can boost resistance ability for the rest of the day. That. Postmistress returns with an envelope addressed to the librarian, Hush House, Renkrug Isle, postmarked in Wales ago. A letter to the librarian. Letters to me from St. Ronwin's Trust. The trust connection with Hush House is probably benevolent, but persistently obscure. So we can reply to this from a writing desk. And a 10-shilling note. Found, but not half a note. A recent innovation. The eccentric currency of a fallen empire. 1 penny is 4 farthings, 12 pence are 1 shilling, and so on. Okay. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. Garden. Make out a green and shaded space, but it's choked with weeds and thorns. You're still around, Shere Khan. I'm curious, with 100 hours in Book of Hours, have you completed the game before? Have you completed it multiple times? Like I said before, I have in my last playthrough, I got pretty close, and I could go back to that save and probably record an ending or potentially multiple endings. I can't remember. I think I heard something about once you've completed the game. Can't remember. I'm not sure if it's not true, but I had a feeling that like there wasn't necessarily an opportunity to go back and like potentially explore different endings with that character or not. I don't know. Maybe that was like an earlier thing, or maybe that was some misconception I had. I should really go back and do that save, finish the one of the endings with that character. St. Brandon's Cloister. The sisters and brothers of the abbey built these gardens in the 13th century, at the height of the period we now call Solar Gothic. Walk here a while and breathe the peace they left. Open air. Birds and seasons can freely visit. So all that's in here is a garden, sea holly in summer, blue crown in winter. So we get access to a skill that has nectar we can start gathering from our garden. We have a couple of rooms that we can potentially the long tower, first floor. Lantern winter. The walled garden. This needs edge or nectar. And then further into the house, the first true threshold. Reached the threshold of the house proper. Librarians of the Curia were scholars of note. Some were potent adepts. From here, I should proceed carefully, observing the proper forms, making the appropriate offerings. Villagers and other locals know the ways of the earth and sea hereabouts. Their assistance will be in. And for here, we'll need 3 knock or 3 rose. Rose is a rose. The rose which encompasseth all. 9 directions to new horizons. Exploration, enlightenment, hope. Edge, we also haven't seen yet. Edge. All conquest occurs at the edge. One who dwells there is blind and cannot be wounded. Another is strong. Principle of battle and of struggle. I think that's all that's left to stay. All of our elements are exhausted. I guess one thing we should probably do now that we have money is unlock the sweet bones. Very welcome at the inn. In the time of the Heptarchy, a ring giver was accounted generous. In this bright and civilized century, a beer buyer enjoys the same regard. Something that I just remembered. We can restore elements of the soul at the sweet bones price. A wary welcome at the inn. I bought a round for everyone and another. One more for luck. And I was not so bad for a foreigner. I'll find a warmer welcome here next time. Memories Solace. One other thing that we should do, although it's too late in the day now, so we'll just let it progress to the next day. If we lock a bed, we can potentially store memories overnight. It's to do, but that's alright. And the pacing of this game is extremely forgiving, even if you're not being... There's no right or wrong way to play the game. There are optimizations you can do, certainly. Sometimes it might feel like you're wasting time if you don't like making use of every resource that's available to you, or if you're not reading a book every day, or unlocking a room every day. But I think what's nice about this game is you're not really on a clock, so the seasons and days progress, but there's no real threat looming. So you can just kind of take your time and explore. That said, I do tend to like to play games in a way that I do try to optimize certain things, but not the only way to play things. And sometimes it's nice to just focus on a single task, or explore a room or push in a direction that seems I think that's one of the things that's cool about this game. Anyway, okay. Now we can wait and see what weather we get. Gale. This one to potentially make use of. Okay, we'll see for it. Trees bend, walls creak, travelers bend low against the blast. It's 3 heart and 3. Just go ahead and check real quick. Immediately useful there. However, let's go ahead and look at the books that we have access to currently. This one is a free guy 6. Buck 4. So potentially six. Okay. Would I think we're close to that, really, because we don't have any sky from Elements of the Soul, and we don't have a writing desk yet, although I believe in this room there is one. Figure out how to get up there. On that. So I think let's start by talking. Let's do that, and then I think let's just start here. Mostly want to do this because I don't remember. It's 2 winter and 1 spring. Okay, so if we give him 1 winter, Long tower, first floor, which I believe also has a desk unit. I'm a little more interested in getting a gatehouse. That we might do this with the rectors. Let's that. So we'll use Mr. Kill to get a rector. With the rector. Mutual acquaintance has introduced Reverend Timothy, the rector, to invite me for a cup of tea. There may even be compliments. Act. And while that's going, go ahead and restore our list here at the Sweet Bones. Rest and refurbishment. Rest and refreshment. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. Now, I always do that. There's room for an extra thing there, but does this... I think it does. Weird how the slots are set up. Do this as an experiment. I can't remember if this will actually restore it, or if we actually need to start it, wait, and then put money in the second slot. Or in this slot here. Yeah, it is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie. The pilchard heads. Pilchard? I think it's pilchard. Or like sardine fish. With pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. Timothy's tea goes cold while he expostulates post-restoration politics and theorizes about the pagan tradition of the miners. And classic, which is 2 rows, and I think any of the assistants have rows aspect at a base, so we need to find here. Which split bread has aspect of 1 rose nectar heart forge. So that's potentially option. Oh, one thing I didn't think about, I was thinking I could use Reverend Timothy help, but do we have an appropriate element here? Rock or lantern? Is our whist? Our whist does. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that restores then. And in... This, we could go for... Long tower, but we could get through the first threshold. I think that's probably worth doing, and I don't really mind using for that. You know, we'll get into the kitchen and unlock the ability to start cooking stuff. I don't think this early game is super gated on us potentially missing one of these aspects here where I may end up reading it, but thanks. Get assistance from Mrs. Kill. And her about gossip. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. After I finish this day, I'm gonna take a break to IO. Okay, yeah, so if you can restore it, you don't have to wait for that second screen. I always forget that, and then I panic and I'm like, oh, do I need to? But it's good that it works that way. Memories don't last as long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. Now that she has 2 rows, just back here. 3. Yes, let's ride with her. This Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasion. Offer something to eat. I can offer my assistant something to eat. Will increase their aspects. It's also who's our fist? Wait, I can't remember which aspects. As I think it's probably like 2 lantern and 1 knock. But if it's not, I'll either have to restore the Whist after enlisting help or prepare to use consumable. And for that, we have dandelion wine. We have essentially tea we can brew. To Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversations, prayer, and tea, and will offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church. So that is an amount of our money, but it's in the name of getting through the house, so good. Do appreciate the contribution. Rector's assistants, Reverend Timothy, Rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Make use of the Rector's help or not. I think one other thing that I'll want to do, or try to do before the end of the day, is claim Ed. It's just, Steam and Scent both rise. It's ready. We have C&H, Second Flush Assam. Thief from the Land of the Real Unicorn. Recorded by Cateran Hero. As Lantern, not much aspects. Talking to eating skill, the sustenance has boosted their aspects appropriately. So now she has 3 rows, and we can use them to help unlocking the threshold. Read this again. I have reached the threshold of the house proper. The librarians of the Curia were scholars of note, some were potent adepts. From here, I should proceed carefully, observing the proper forms, making the appropriate offerings. The villagers and other locals know the ways of the earth and the sea hereabouts. Their assistance will be... Okay. And... yes, let's check the Rector's stats. So he has 2 Lantern and 1 Nox, or that correctly. So we can go up the gatehouse stairs, and I think that makes sense. We'll have to wait until this one. So I suppose in the meantime, talk to him. Reverend Timothy is always happy to chat. I do love this detail about him compared to the other assistants, is that when you talk with him specifically, chatting, which is a way of generating memories, takes 45 seconds, and the other ones take 30. The entrance hall. Beginning of the house proper. The Curia used to issue gloves and slippers of soft leather to protect the books and premises. Visitors were often asked to remove their shoes, pause a moment, and listen to this. So there's quite a bit of artwork in here. I want to go through. We have Valentine de Wolf. Valentine de Wolf, 6th Baron of Brandkrug, known for his eccentricities in the sky. Where's eccentricities? In the sky, he sought his friends and inscriptions. Hendrik de Wolf. Hendrik de Wolf, 1st Baron Brandkrug, known for his pious, merciless justice. Granted Brandkrug Isle in 1536 after the dissolution of St. Brandon's. Edinburgh, sometimes known affectionately as the First Ava, Lady de Breos never visited the Isle, but it was a generous endowment that allowed the abbey to thrive and grow in the 13th. Lady Rowena. For as long as there's been a hush house, there have been stories of its enigmatic protectress. Leaves the wind, a soothing but undistinguished work in oils. Someone evidently was good at trees and wanted you to put. Sister, priestess, oracle, queen, a very old image from the dawn period with a simple inscription. The boy that prays. There's no sign of a boy in this distorted, menacing image, and no one seems to be praying. That's the other thing that I quite enjoy about the Secret Histories games, both in particular this game, but also Cult Simulator. I think the writing is just fantastic. I believe it's Alexis Kennedy is the name, AK, the creator, writer, developer, and then also, again, art style, and that's done. The art is predominantly, I believe, done by the other member of Factory. Lottie? Abbot Geoffrey. It was Abbot Geoffrey who gave Natan of Regensburg sanctuary here and decreed the building of the Barber's Tower where Natan and his family could dwell. In 15th century England, only a determined and well-respected abbot could have persuaded the brothers to shelter a Jewish physician. Lignum vitae, I think. This is material wood. So one of the other things that you can do with help from the villagers, as we saw earlier on Mrs. Kill, noted that she can make use of fabric. I believe Mr. Kill can make use of wood. And the rector, I think it's something light, or maybe not light, but specifically like candles. I'll double check that when we then we'll continue looking at these. We have Procross Sands at high tide, a gloomy study of the sea in gloomy weather. Thomas was one of the first abbots here just before the beginning of the Solar Gothic period. Bust is much more recent, a 19th century bronze. Inscription reads, Speech, the first sword. Or so let's unlock this room. Use one element to rest, and we should save. I did want to try to read Traveling at Night. No, I mean, we're so quite far off from that. So what can we do with the Gale then? Oh yeah, what other rooms do we just... Weed-choked garden, 3 heart or 3 nectar, grand ascent, ground floor, so that might be stairs, but the air here is thick with old magics. I should move carefully, and I should not go alone. Sign of any fire. Then was the house big. Then we have a tangle. So this one requires 4 edge, heart, moon, or winter. Not sure. I don't remember if we've read moon yet. Moon, secrets are soft, night is softer still, the sea speaks, it is not always wise to listen. I believe we did read that one. Okay, yeah, we can definitely do that. I think we could probably do it anyway with Mrs. Kill's help. But might as well make use of the Gale. Don't think we're going to be able to use the sky for anything. There's no rooms currently that require it, and the book, I think, is a little far off even if we do. Even once we get into the gatehouse stairs, because we have just 3 from the memory, and then I can't remember, there may be a tool in there that gives sky. Which that would only be 4, so still a bit off on sky until we at least get an appropriate scale, or I think it's really just gonna come down to skill that does it. So yeah, let's Mrs. Kill's help. It's essentially free, and then go ahead and restore core. Might need. She has heart and grail aspects, so I don't think we need to use an element of the soul to exalt her. But we'll see. Go ahead and continue. Rook. Authority. Once the shepherd's crook represented the authority of the church, perhaps the suppression bureau kept it here because they liked the idea of authority in general. Saint Elaine next. Visionary philosopher, alchemist, most revered and most heterodox of the Isle's abbesses. Inscription in Latin reads, "The cross died, not passed within." Finally, we have another leaves. Wind, soothing but undistinguished work in oils. Someone evidently was good at trees and wanted you. So, yes, she has 2 grail, 1 heart. Speak with Reverend Timothy. I don't need to listen to everything Reverend Timothy says. He doesn't really even expect me to. But I'm often glad when I do. So, use him to get through the gatehouse stairs. The stairs to the room above are blocked with debris and the plaster is peeling from the walls. I'll need help from the village to clear and restore the place. Talk to Kill. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually does. Conversations with her yield the occasional about the weather, that'll bring her up to 4. More useful than one might expect is written. So we'll be able to use that to rest. Lay in bed. Log one of these books with him. It's an element of the soul that is not nectar or scale, which are the 2 aspects that 2 aspects that have. Okay, but we can use our core for that, which means use our health to thing. And let's see. This one has aspects of Scale Forged, Knock, and Heart. Will let us carry over the memory of Soul. Guestbed, Lodge, Stout, Rustic, Snug. Make this my lodgings for the time being. Move your belongings into this room. You can then use this bed to rest soul cards and recover melodies. And since we'll wait another seconds on that room, I'll go ahead and talk to Isabel again, to Jen and Marie. anything else that we'd rather keep overnight. Refreshed parkour, better now. And go ahead and use that. Cataloga Nocturnal Period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's nocturnal period. For the turn of the century, if I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Books from this period are almost never contaminated. We could do a curio book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's curio period, roughly 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn about what knowledge it might contain. Baronial period book. Book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it. So, as far as the goes, so I think the nocturnal period is the most recent period, turn of century, referring to the 1900s. Which we're currently set in. And then I think the older you go, as far as like the books are concerned, the more likely they are to be contaminated in some way, which doesn't matter. I don't think you can contaminate element of the soul just by cataloging a book. I think it's if you try to study one that has been contaminated, that that you haven't cleansed. So, is that right? Maybe you can get contamination. I don't think it happens all the time, but maybe there's a chance to do it from cataloging. I can't remember. Anyway, we'll go ahead and catalog these books. Anything with transport anyway. Okay, so the Watchman's Tower, first floor. The notorious Ava DeWolf, first and last Baroness Brandenburg, liked this room because this side of the house carried fewest memories of her poor father Valentine, so she could eavesdrop on the conversations of visitors waiting below, or just because of how the pale light slanted through the windows in the last days of above, so below. A framed page of illustrated vellum, up close the colors dazzle and puzzle. Of Walter DeWolf, the bust is carved from serpentine, striking local stone. We have our first writing desk now, Desk Ava, a magnificent 18th century secretary desk, commissioned for Lady Ava DeWolf, last of DeWolf's last. Here we have Baron Silence's astrolabe. Thomas DeWolf used this armillary as spherical astrolabe in his calculations, but it's much older than he was. So this is a tool, and it has that. Okay. We have a mirror scope, which is another tool that has a lantern aspect, bewildering and occasionally useful. Some Ugal ink. A variant of Iron Gall ink. Particularly difficult to erase, and minor ink of power. There's some more books, and we now have the Watchman's Tower, top floor, 2 Sky or 2 Grail. So that's doable with the Rector's help. Because we can give him we have a baseline of 2 for him. Yeah. There 'tis, and can't be no tisser. This is still as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill. There's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Okay. So, we will build to unlock the Grand Ascent, ground floor. The stairs here are clear, but the air here is thick with old magics. I should move carefully, and I should go alone. Sign of any fire. Why then was the house? Okay, so got that going. Looks like this would be the only one. Get into the wheat garden. I wouldn't have minded keeping them in the option. Oh, good. Oh, we have the skin. 8 Grail. And I guess we could have poured an element. I'll log another book. Afternoons, we'll have 2 minutes. I'll do that, though I may not catalog a book. I might. We still have quite a few funds to work with. I'm not worried about cycling through elements through the inn to generate funds currently. We'll probably get to that soon. I think we're just more limited on elements of the soul at this point, crushing them. Oh, you know what? I just remembered something that I can. So yeah, camp is now my bed and slot for memories. Use that to save a memory overnight. We need to open the Tree of Wisdom. So, for anyone who hasn't seen this before, this is kind of like a skill tree of sorts. We can use this essentially to level up our character in a way. It gives us more access to elements of the soul, and there's also quite a bit of Steam lore associated here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9 branches. They're all associated with different elements and skills. Again, let's take a look at our journal. So, for the Simmergist, the start, this character that we're playing currently, it suggests that we might wish to begin our studies with the Birdsong Wisdom. Now, in this initial thought, as a plot for our rescued journal. My memories lie curled in my journal like a seed in winter earth. Once you've rescued and read your journal, use it to free. The roots of memory. There are always choices, and though there are always regrets, unlock the tree and gain a Triss card. So the element that you gain here, I think, depends on what your character is. Like what journal you have. They all give different assume. Anyway, let's go ahead. We have a trust. The change and the longing. One of the 9 parts of the... Oh, yeah. About how limited on elements of the soul. I had a way to get one. So, exploring the tree. Every skill could belong to one of 2 wisdoms. Decide which by assigning it here. We don't have any skills yet, of course, but we'll get there. This will grow your understanding of the wisdom and reward you with an element of the soul. And then let's go ahead and catalog another book. A period book. We unlocked the new room. Found is grand ascent, ground floor. The staircase that served as the spine of the house. Baron Welter's great project, executed by the master mason Gregory Wheelock. Paradise Palm. Full repose. Placed by the Curia of the Isle to allow rest before an ascent. Or Serena Black. No one is in the picture, only garden. Bocabald. Ambrose Westcott liked to name his hunting trophies after former rivals whom he said his trophies resembled. The ascent has these spaces for of the barons, and as we go further up, the librarians. I think we already potentially have some of these. Rick DeWolf, first Baron Brandegrew, known for his pious, merciless justice. Brandegrew Isle in 15. It in its proper place. Then we have Valentine DeWolf, 6th Baron Brandegrew. First floor, we just have space. First floor. So, the first Baron Brandegrew with a plaque. Returned loyalty for loyalty and curse. Okay. We have the Ruinous Hall. Just 5 heart, 5 scale. The 5 heart should be reasonable with Mrs. Kill. We can get at a baseline, I think 3 for her, so we just need eventually 2 from memory, like the memory salts, so we might do that the following day here. With a dimly lit chamber, 5 lantern or 5 rose, and then up the ascent, we have for Forge, Heart, Sky, Orange. So remember to carry this over, and then wanted to just catalog with this core. It might be close. We're not quite at midnight yet, so I think we can same thing. Anyway, so we're not quite at midnight yet, which means we have a minute left in the day, which is the time it takes to catalog a book, I believe. We've got the 12 letters on consequence. Or Moon Mystery. I don't have any skills that provide moon. Actually, just gives one. Put this. So 8 rail is sticking. Moon is potentially. We have one from the Tryst. Get a tool that gives 1. And a memory that gives 2. Really get there. I'm trying to think. I don't remember if there's memories that you can get by talking to people. To discover that as we go. I could look these up in the wiki or a spreadsheet, and I also have a physical journal here where I was keeping notes of my last playthrough. Essentially, like recording aspects mostly, and recording recipes. It was quite fun to do that. I like the idea for this this game of keeping like analog paper notes. It just helped me a lot with some of the immersion. But yeah, it's nice to in some way keep track of aspects and skill recipes. That way you're not necessarily like guessing or being forced to rely on memory, of which mine is particularly bad sometimes. There is a cool thing in the game where you can leave notes on bookshelves, so I made use of that as well, and we'll get to that when I unlock some of the deeper rooms that have more space for books. It's nice to organize the books and log. Especially the ones that you have read. This is something that they added. This wasn't in the game when it first released, but all of the books, even the ones that you haven't mastered yet, they let you know which skill you're gonna get. But when you reread a book and it generates a memory, it always generates the same memory. So it's useful to know which books generate which memories. Anyway, let's see. Use this list. Just catalog it. Oh, and I'll be using desk to do this. And there's some other stuff that we can do with the desk, which do that. Then wait for it to tick over. Now it is night. Fallen dawn. A few seconds. And we'll dream on a memory. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. Dreaming on a memory will preserve it passed on, allowing you to keep it until the following. So again, I believe 5 heart. Because Mrs. Kill with the core, so yeah, I think she has 2 Grail, 1 heart. So it might be the other way. It might be 2 Grail. Or yeah, it's 2. Oh, actually, yeah. It's 2 Grail, 1 heart because yeah. Use that with the Gale to get into the 4 heart room. So if we exalt her with a core, she'll have 3, and then with the memory solace, she'll have 5. Unlock this. The Amalgam of the Red Rose. And I'm not reading all of these descriptions for the books as I come across them. I'll read them once we actually like get into attempting to like master read a specific book. I'll read them then. And yeah, this is an 8 forge mystery. It's gonna be a little ways off for us. I'll put it here. And then as for these two, we have sky. No elements with sky. Yeah, this one's probably in the same boat as the moon. We need some combination of a skill. I mean, the moon one is probably a little easier because we have element for 1. I think we can find a tool relatively soon that would give us 1. And then we would just need a memory. 4, so that one's a little bit easier. Sky, we're either going to need element or a combination of weather. We need a lot for this one, honestly. For here for now. We would need, there's the storm weather would give 4 sky, so we could get to 5 with the tool. And I think that, you know, that's it without having an element of the soul that there's definitely one that has sky on it. I'm pretty sure. For knock be far off. Need to catalog some more books before we find something to get a skill from. Okay. Proceed to the next day. here, I'm going to take a little break. Okay, David. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. Going to okay. And then I'm going to put up my here at back screen, and I'll be a few minutes, maybe 5 to 10. Okay, I am back, and I've decided to switch to my cat cam because I over here on his pillow. Let's see. Just a moment. Alright, so where are we at? We have unlocked a number of rooms. We cataloged a few books, none of them quite readable yet. We're carrying over a memory. Memory Solace, which gives 2 heart and 1 sky. I believe we want to use that to get into the Ruinous Hall, perhaps. Also go up the Grand Ascent or into the garden. All of those are options. We could also get into the Watchman's Tower or the Long Tower, first floor. I think about this. We could do 2 rooms today. If we hire Mrs. Kill and if we hire the Rector. Okay, so I think we'll do that. We'll do 2 rooms. We'll do the Long Tower and we'll do the Ruinous Hall. And we'll probably just work on cataloging some more books. Maybe make some money at the Sweet Bones as well. While we're talking to people and getting help from our assistants. So that is a reasonable game plan for today. So as far as the stream goes, I'm not sure how much longer I want to stream tonight, maybe just another hour or 2, but we'll see. Let's start with assistance from the Rector, I think. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversations, prayer, and tea, and he'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church. Shilling? I do appreciate the contribution. So our memory carried over. I should have read that. Oh, yeah, also I forgot. Weather, Nectar, and Grail. I suppose this would want to do this opportunistically. That gets us into the Tangle of Thorns. So I do like to use the weather when I can. The only thing is, I don't think there are some potentially useful items in the Tangle of Thorns. I forget the actual name of the room, but probably not anything that we need access to imminently. And Fort Grail isn't so far off from what we have access to that it is like... I guess it's a little... you know what? I changed my mind. I think we'll use Mrs. Kill to get into the Tangle of Thorns while we can, while we have this rain. So we'll do that instead of the other room. We might be able to do all of it. Be a little taxing on the elements that we have. Because we will need to store this right away. We'll use that once it's restored with Reverend Timothy. Because in the meantime, let's help start talking to her. Go ahead and talk to Mrs. Kill. So I don't know if my other cat, Eloise, she's got a toy out in the hallway. So I'm not sure. Hear her yowling when my microphone is activated. Okay. Yeah, so we exalt her with core. She'll have 3 Grail and 3 Heart. Thing goes easier with a song. And forth on this now. Guess we don't have any other source of Grail currently, although any memory that grants it helps get us into the Tangle. But again, like using the weather while we have it, we can always carry the Solace over another day. Yeah, use the rain. I don't have any other plans for it currently. And it saves us from relying on randomly generated memories, which is nice. Talk to her again. Oh, I thought of one other thing that we'd like to do. Really? We have options here. I want to reply to the letter. And I want to take a look at the book. Yeah, okay, so this is actually kind of important. I forgot about this too. I think our journal gives us a skill to work with initially. If we solve this winter mystery. We should plan to do that sooner than later too, but we already have a plan for our whist, I think, that would get the Rector up to 3 lantern, which gets us into the Long Tower. After which we could potentially restore that whist and then unlock that first. For now, let's do some work in the sweep. I can't remember if fortune telling gives like a guaranteed amount or if it's random. I know that using certain elements are better than others when it comes to working at the Sweet Bones. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. I think we'll do that. Once we've spent a bit of money restoring elements and asking the Rector. And essentially that'll generate us, I believe, 6 pence. So you can think of it as, you know, half of the amount needed to ask one of the other villagers for help. And we can also think of it as potentially, you know, 3 restorations, or, you know, we're using 1 element to restore to get us 6, so it's like worth 2 elements of the soul essentially. Made sense. Okay. So this is killed. We've talked to her about the weather. Somber as autumn, as kind as autumn. She also likes her beer. So get her help now with either of these 2 gardens. I think we'll go for actually, is the upper one, I mean the upper one only requires 3 hearts, so let's just do what we intended here. We'll unlock the Tangle of Thorns, a flower garden now overrun with thorned weeds and briar rose. And we'll go ahead and Timothy collaborate with our list. We'll watch for what lies ahead. Please turn lantern. This will get him up to 3 lantern. In which case, okay, so I'm thinking about this. We've spent almost to a third of the way through the day. So, let's say we have 4 hours left. If we spend 2 of those restoring core, we need an additional minute to exalt twice. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think we have time to rehire Mrs. Kill and potentially do 3 remote today. which means we would have an extra element available for perhaps just cataloging a book. Oh, and then, yeah, again, reply to the letter. Read a letter. Message from me. Read the letter. To reply instead, add ink. Desk. Go ahead and read it. St. Ronlin's Trust wishes to congratulate me on my appointment as librarian of Hush House. The Trust assures me that it will provide the promised stipend each spring, but reminds me that its resources are limited and suggests I seek local assistance in restoring the premises. Let us know when you're all set up and ready to receive visitors, the letter concludes. Simply signed, the trustees. I'm fine with replying to it. An enigmatic reply to St. Ronlin's Trust. I can't remember if this uses the ink or not when you're just replying to a letter. I think it does not. The sea remains, the house remains. What else remains, we shall learn in time. I am something new, and in time I will learn. Memory, did consume the ink. So that is a little unfortunate, but fine. That particular ink is not, I mean, there's definitely other sources of it in the house, and it's not terrible to craft once we get into the rhythm of unlocking skills. Will not a terrible loss, I don't think. I mean, it being a nectar ink does help us get the ball rolling on some of the nectar skills at some point, but so here we used to say in my youth, the day is done, and so am I, but I've earned it. And restore 4. I want to restore core and whist. Whist to dive deeper into our journal, and then we'll want to do 2 cores to re-recruit Mrs. Kill. Here we can use the Rector's assistance to get into the Long Tower. The Long Tower looks like it's been abandoned much longer than 7 years, and in the nocturnal period, the inhabitants probably spent most of their time on the seaward side of the Isle. I'll need help to restore the room above. And we have unlocked the Scent Garden. This too dates from the time of the Abbey, but in summer neither sisters nor brothers were permitted to spend more than a single hour here, lest the temptation of savors overwhelm them. This one has a number of plants, gardens, moth orchids in spring, honey star jasmine in autumn. The history plant, Agave eterna, flowers here in the summer. And then fragrant chalice in summer, and autumn, Lenten rose in winter. Rarer plants might flourish in Luna. Then we also have a bottle of Shinshuk mead, a murky, sweet-smelling liquid crowded with sediment. This one will give us quite a bit of moth Moth is an aspect that I don't think we've read just yet. I knew a man who captured moths in a bell jar. On nights like this, he would release them one by one to die in the candle. Moth is the wild and perilous principle of chaos and yearning. Dark. We have a hurricane lamp, proof against storm wind and moth swoop alike. It is a light, so it might be a consumable item that we can give to Reverend Timothy if we need another lantern or sky aspect on him. And then we have no more adjacencies there. So yeah, work on rain elements. Okay, so soon at afternoon we'll have 3 hours left in the day, I believe. I think the timing works out on this. 1 second. Okay, it is now afternoon. A little hour called nones, when the doors of the manses are most tightly closed. For the secular, the hours when we may anticipate tea or celebrate it. So about 15 seconds to recruit Mrs. Kill. And then we're waiting another minute for core. So let's say 1:45. Including the 30 seconds to use that core to exalt her. And in the meantime, we can talk with her about the memory of solace. I think that works. Notably, a memory of intuition we won't be able to carry overnight. Rose and moon aspects. We'd still be 1 off there. Okay, and then also with 3 minutes left in the day, one of them is used to restore our core, so we have 2. We can restore our whist and then study our journal as well. Let's go ahead and post this letter. Patience. Thus the mountain awaits the fall of the snow, thus Monday awaits the death of the weekend. Thus the postmistress waits for me to purchase the necessary stamp. Marked stamp. Stamp, envelope, send. Postmistress examines the letter, deems it sufficient. It'll go with the next post she assures me. In the post. Now I can expect visitors, correspondence, and a stipend from the trust every spring. So that's great. Rest and refreshment. Better. Go ahead and ask Mrs. Kill for help. And go ahead and restore. Or what's that? Skill 2 about memory. That should be room unlocked. Okay. The Long Tower Solomon Study. In 1818, the Very Reverend Solomon Husher became third librarian of the Curia of the Isle. He took rooms in the Long Tower as his quarters. Husher's tastes were Spartan, although the Curia generally liked a little more luxury. No one ever quite dared to redecorate the place after his disappearance. We have a bust of Solomon Husher. This bust is the palest white marble. We have candles, potentially useful with the Reverend. We have some pedunculate, deadly. Use gloves to read text produced with this pigment, an ink of power, sometimes considered an unsanctioned ink. 4-edge for scale and a grail. Some parchment, whispering sand, a couple more books, and a pale desk. Solomon Husher himself commissioned this from Lockwood Fen Boggu, blackened and half fossilized by centuries underwater. Here at this desk he wrote his doomy allegory of winter and its romance with the sun. When he blotted the last word on his manuscript and rose from his work, the timber had turned pale as fresh-cut maple, or so the story goes. This desk has aspects of lantern, scale, sky, and winter. We have Mrs. Kittle now at 3 heart. We'll go ahead and wait for this core to finish restoring. It is now dusk. There are certain actions where after it becomes night, you can no longer do, such as interacting, I believe, with like most of the villagers. However, when you have someone's assistance, I think you can potentially do stuff with that all the way up until they disappear at dawn. Either way, I have plenty of time here. Go ahead and elaborate. Everything goes easier with the song. And go ahead and restore our whist. That to study our journal. It might take it overnight, but I'm fine with that generally. We potentially could have we could have been a little bit less ambitious in terms of the number of rooms that we unlocked today and spent extra elements to unlock books, but you know, all works out in the end. Go ahead and use, we'll go ahead and talk to her to generate a memory first, because we have, again, time left in the day, and being able to carry a memory over into the next day I find generally useful. Be able to do something with it. This memory intuition is going to go to waste. We have no way to preserve it, and I think no way to make use of the attribute currently. There is a wrist. This is a winter mystery. Let's go ahead and study this at the skill desk. Master this mystery. Enough winter to match mystery winter. It's just the one on here. And I could have done this earlier. I kind of forgot about it. Okay. This kill. Give us memory, a stolen secret. Leave. And carry that over, and it has to moon, which is kind of interesting. Might be able to do something with that. We'll see. That's good enough for me. Let's go ahead and unlock the Ruinous Hall. This place was bright and busy once. It can be again, but it'll be grueling work to make it so. Not suitable work for a librarian. Then, yeah, studying our book. Hopefully that just takes a span of a minute. It's gonna be close. We might not have our wisp might be exhausted going into today, but again, it's a big deal. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and I forgot to sleep on the memory. Distracted. It's okay. Alright, we have sunny weather, 2 lantern, 2 sky. Let's think about that. If nothing else, we can get into the Watchman's Tower. Might do that and just catalog some books. Okay, yeah, that's 2 minutes to fully study. Like most books take 2 minutes. Okay, let's look this. Servants' Hall. Hendrik de Wolf, 1st Baron Brandkrug, was granted Hush House after the dissolution of St. Brandon's by Old Coppernose King Henry VIII. In an act of unusual generosity for that tight-fisted king, the grant came with the title of Baron and rights Sicut Regal. The king quasi-independence traditionally accorded to marcher lords. Hendrik was clearly determined to live as befitted his new rank, and he expanded the house accordingly to support sufficient staff. The bronze knife, which is a really nice tool. It's got several aspects on it, including winter and 2 nectar. A long knife of age-darkened metal with a teak handle inlaid with bone. It could be a hunting knife, although it's certainly no older than the 19th century, and it's not clear why anyone might have chosen to make a hunting knife out of bronze in the 19th century. Scribed clock, a gift from Sir David Green to a favorite painter. You have the loom. There, the golden threads they wove, and in the moon's house fast they tied them. From the lay of Helgi Huntingsbane. We have some packages, pigeon statuette, beautiful enameled little image. The maker's mark is AW, probably. Ambrose Westcott. Good thing, perhaps. Warmly colored yarns. A blushing nest of possibility. Midnight mark. Blemish left on a page or a skin by a careful incision or a judicious sting to preserve little of the power of night. We have some more candles. And we have an instrument piano. A gift from Kitty Mazarine, who would sometimes pop by of an evening to sing. But her successor, Solomon, never won for music. He disliked the way its notes would drift up the stairs to the reading room and forbade the staff to play their piano before sunset. This is a nice little bit of lore in that it gives us relative relation between two of the librarians. Of Solomon, who succeeded Kitty. So from this room, we know which librarian he was. Call. We may not know yet. And then, yeah, we have a ruined kitchen. Really signs of a fire, but it looks as if, fortunately, the chimney breast collapsed before it could spread too far. It can't be why the house was abandoned. In any case, the kitchen will need skilled labor to restore it to usable state. You need 6 forge or 6 sky. Thinking. Let's... I want to use the sunny weather. I'm a little reluctant to continue spending money for help unless we need it. I know there are some books in here, but we do have already uncatalogued books that we can read, or catalog to find out if we can read them. How would we get into the dimly lit chamber? We have essentially 2 lanterns from the sunny weather, and we would need the Reverend, 2 more lantern there, 1 from a tool, gets us 5. So I know I just said I was kind of reluctant, but I know this just gets us into the house, and I think there's a bunch of books in here. We might do that, except our list is tied up, so I guess we could go ahead and restore it. So let's catalog some books. We'll use the sunny weather to get into that next room, the dimly lit chamber, and go ahead and just generate some money, and then with our remaining our remaining elements, I think we'll just catalog some books. We'll spend 1 core, and then we'll wait and see what comes out of studying our journal. A novel method for invocation and contrition. This one is quite a ways off. 14 rows and also written in Archaean. So books can be written in different languages, and you need knowledge of that language in order to translate them. I've mastered this and gathered the lessons. Yeah, okay. So, probably should have done this, but again, I kind of forgot about it. So, this gives us a lesson, 2 lessons. Oh, a number of lessons, okay. We have Sky Stories and Rhyme and Remembrance. So, these lessons, they're memories, they're persistent, they will survive the dawn, but you want to be careful heading into the end of a season. Persistent memories survive the dawn, but when the season called Numa passes, they will depart with it. Numa comes to Brandkrug in 1 season out of every 9, but exactly when is never certain, and years may pass without any sign of Numa's mists. If I recall correctly, I think there's something that I read or heard about that Numa won't be the first season change. So these are pretty safe hanging out, but still we want to get access to some skills so we can start potentially mastering and reading other books. Sky Stories looks like it's going to give us Sky and Rose. Potentially might allow us to get closer to reading Traveling at Night Volume 2. And with skills, generally what I like to do is if I don't know the skill, I'll use, the first lesson to learn it. Just to have it, I guess. You don't have to do that, because the lessons can be used to... The reason we have 3 lessons of Rhyme and Remembrance, why it gives you 3 to start, is you can potentially use those to level up the skill after you learn it. But you don't necessarily have to use the corresponding lesson to the skill. It just needs to match the elements on the skill, or the aspects. And it only has to match one of the 2. Each skill has 2 different aspects. Manual labor, done. Restore the Whist now. Hire the Reverend. And I think I'll wait a second. Use... We have the 1 desk which we can use with our current elements to catalog. Stories. The 9 winds gossip, and sometimes we can listen. So yeah, this has 2 sky, 1 rose. It is a skill. It has the aspects of birdsong and harmonic. Birdsong, music, riddles, miscellanea. Less a wisdom, more a body of gossip, hollowed by accretion, a snifty scholar once remarked. For a macastry, this wisdom is concerned with the laws and disagreements of the hours and their emanation. Now, the other thing you can do with skills is you can place them in the Tree of Wisdoms to potentially gain aspects, or gain access to additional elements of the soul. In my last playthrough, I tended to be a little bit conservative about using these in the tree. One thing you can do, one strategy, is eventually you're going to get access to languages. Languages don't have any use necessarily for crafting, they're kind of just for translating books. So you generally don't need to level them up. And the way this works is in this first ring, you place level 1 or higher skills. So, and then in the second row up, it'll only take level 2 and higher skills. So you generally want to level skills that are useful for studying books and for crafting. And if you put them in a level 1 slot and then level them up later, you can do that certainly. Although it may be you may or may not consider it a bit of a wasted effort if you slot into a level 1 slot and then later decide that you want to level that skill up. You could have placed it potentially in a slot further along on the tree. I'm not sure exactly how I want to play for this playthrough yet. I think I'm going to avoid committing anything right now until we get access to a little bit more as far as skills, because you can progress quite far without committing anything to the tree. Having more options in terms of skill placement and, you know, choosing what skills to level, I like to keep my options a little open in that regard, but I might be a little bit more aggressive in this playthrough about committing skills to the tree, just to get access to potentially elements that I don't have. Like, for example, here, if I commit this to the Horror Macastry branch, I can get a Fet with the Sky Stories, and that's an element I don't have yet. So that can also potentially help me, you know, progress in a way of giving me access to an element of the soul that has different aspects, might get us into different rooms. But yeah, I mean, there's no, I wouldn't say like a right or wrong way, or even an optimal way necessarily to approach that. It just depends kind of what you're going for in your playthrough. The other thing is, what, like, once you commit a skill to the tree, it is a permanent choice for that playthrough. you know, you get the skill back, you still have it, you can still level it up. But as far as like the lore here, every skill, I don't know that it's every skill, it might be each slot, or maybe a skill pairing. You know, I think, yeah, like every skill, depending on which of the two wisdoms you choose, you know, if you look up here on the right, it's telling a different kind of story or narrative. So it's kind of interesting. If you just commit stuff kind of, you know, as you gain access to it, you might miss out on reading a potential little tidbit of lore that you might otherwise be able to look at if you're taking a more conservative approach. So it just depends, again, what you're trying to get out of it. Enough of a digression there. So what are we doing now? We're trying to get we're restoring our Wist. We're going to talk to Reverend Timothy. I would like to get into the dimly lit chamber. We can go ahead and learn Ryman Remembrance here. And let's think about this again. So with Sky Stories, now this is, it's kind of interesting. We're close to reading Traveling at Night. We would be, if we use a memory that provides 2 Sky, we have 2 Sky from Sky Stories. We have 1 Sky from the Astrolabe. So we would need to find 1 more Sky, and we could get that from potentially an element of the soul. I think that, do I have written in my notes, I'm just in my little notebook, if I ever recorded what all of the aspects of the elements gave. Might be one thing I really record. I might do that real quick. Hang on, give me a minute here. Apologies, I know you can't see what I'm writing down elements in this notebook. Or there is fetch, out, metal, H, and Fost would be the health gives art. And even quantities. Trist gives moth. And You know what? I'll leave it as a surprise for myself to record the others as I gain access to them, I think. I have rough ideas of what the other 5 give. Or rough memories. Like I know Faust gives Lantern, and I believe Sky. I can't remember what Fet gives exactly. I think might be Rose and potentially Sky. So using the Sky stories to get a Fet is potentially appealing. It might be like Rose and Moon or something like that, though. I can't remember. Okay. Restoring that. Sun. Then. Where are we getting the last lantern from? Oh, the Astro Mirror Scope? Yeah. One. And tools, most of them are reusable, so don't know about that. Let me think. I think with the remaining elements, we'll just probably catalog books today. So, go ahead and do a Baronial period. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdom. So, Rhyme and Remembrance is Birdsong and Skolakosvi. Study of things that should not be studied. Some call this a wisdom. It has two winter and 1 moon. Putting it here would give us a tryst, which we already have. Putting it here gives us an Arab, which I believe is like edge and tail, maybe? So, not that exciting to me. Maybe a little bit. I think it's heavier in Grail than Edge, which means starting at 2-1. That would be potentially nice because it baselines Mrs. Kill at 4 Grail, with just element committed. Don't have an immediate use for that, but it'll come up. So it's worth thinking about. And then as far as what this gives us to, we have now 2 moon at a baseline. So if we came across a skill earlier, might have been the intuition, that had the 2 moon, which means we could read the 12 letters on consequence. Get another skill. Is this something? From memory? No. there's the whisk back. We're gonna have like kind of more time in the day than we do elements, so I think I want to maybe do a rotation of working and restoring. We utilize the sweet bones that way. And I'm curious, I can't remember if fortune telling is like consistently 6 or if it's potentially less, so let's give it a shot. Garnered enough mystique to tell fortunes for pennies. Undignified, perhaps, for the librarian of Hush House, but times are hard. And then we'll get Reverend Timothy's help here. To him. I will talk to him. A tool. I can lend my assistant something to help increasing their abilities. Ogor Tislak Ogor. A surprisingly chatty text by an entity that identifies itself as Excellency Nathobasis. This is streams. That one as well is quite far off. Okay. Help from Reverend Timothy. We're telling some fortunes. Go ahead and talk about weather. And then we'll probably generate maybe a memory or two while we restore elements for more cataloging here. Okay, yeah. The fortunes I tell may be true and they may be real. The money, at least, is real. So, fortune telling gives us 2 pence at least for that one iteration, so not the most useful money making. So let's go ahead and restore a core. Take advantage of the weather while it lasts. So we can use him now to get into the dimly lit chamber, which we will do by the end of the day, but go ahead and have a little chat with him. We might find a useful memory that we can take overnight. Also, as far as leveling up skills, so it requires effort of a matching aspect, one of the two. Requires at least one lesson, matching aspects, and then you can use memories equal to essentially equal to the current level of the skill. Now it gives you 3 lessons of one of the skills from your journal. They are memories, so you could use them in this way where you take the skill from level 1 to 2 using 2 of the matching lessons that it gives you. However, you are only required to use 1 lesson, so kind of the more optimized or efficient way to level up skills, because lessons are a little more of a rare resource. You only get them from reading books in the base game, I believe. In the DLC, you can get lessons through hosting Solhans, which we'll get to a little bit later. But memories are a fairly easy to come by resource in terms of you're able to get them from talking to people, from using the consider verb with different objects in the house. You can get them from rereading books that you've already read. Also, when you read a book for the first time, it will generate a memory, and that memory, whenever you reread that book, it'll be the same memory. So you can come up with a system of cataloging and organizing your library that lets you know, like, hey, if I reread these books, I'm going to generate these memories. And it's nice to do that, so you know exactly what you need to do to level up a skill, especially as they get to higher levels and start requiring more memories. So again, to go from 1 to 2, you need a lesson plus memory. To go to from 2 to 3, you would need a lesson plus 2 memories. And they have to be matching one of the two aspects. And most memories that you can generate will have 2. There are some more advanced ones that might have more aspects, but having a way where you're sort of deterministically able to generate memories and know which aspects they give helps you level up skills much easier. So, and if I'm thinking about this, depending on what memories we get, we may be able to again read the 12 letters on consequence or study it. And potentially leveling up Rhyme and Remembrance could help with that too, but I think at the baseline here, the Trist plus the Remembrance, if we find another, if we are able to get, I think it was maybe the Intuition that had the 2 moon, and there might be other memories that have 2. That gets us the 4 that we need. Anyway, so all that to say, I'm not sure that I need to level up Rhyme and Remembrance right now. We're not, again, necessarily in danger of losing these lessons anytime soon. We should have another full season, since this is the first season of the game. So I think we can kind of sit on those and see if that is what we want to do. The other thing that skills are useful for is generating or for crafting. So that's generating memories, generating stuff like ink or other tools, other potentially varying objects of varying use. We'll get into that a little bit later as well, but that's another reason that you might want to level skills to find out what they do. Of course, this is something that you can look up on a wiki, but or if you have I would recommend, if you're playing this game for the first time, to kind of discover that stuff as you play. And again, I found it quite fun to take notes on stuff as I was discovering it. Also, I can't show this right now because I don't have any elements of the soul unlocked, but actually we have one coming up, I think, in a second. Let's go ahead and generate another memory. We've got a memory hindsight here from Reverend Timothy. Some things we can only really understand when they're gone. A 2 winter 1 scale. So there's our core restored. We have less than 2 minutes remaining in the day, so I think we're not going to bother restoring, but we'll go ahead and use this core, if nothing else, to catalog another book. But I did want to show this here as well. So at desks and other crafting, you consider like crafting benches in the game, objects like the loom or the piano, they'll have, you know, different slots for what they can accept, and there's different little puzzles to figure out there as far as like what skills you can use at what benches, what other objects you can use at benches to craft different things with those skills. And each skill, once you provide, it won't tell you off the bat what you craft with it. You need to actually provide the necessary requirements. So over here on the left we have the intensity of the required aspect. So read this here. There's potential here for apprentice level recipe. Provide 5 matching aspect and a suitable skill. So you can imagine, and this is not always the case, some skills use different aspects, but we, you know, it might be worth trying to provide 5 winter or 5 moon, and if that is indeed what these 2 recipes require, it will tell us what it will generate, and then from that point on, the skill, if you put it in a crafting bench with any element, you can see what is craftable with that skill if you've discovered that recipe before. So one of the things that is that you'll see me do at some point in this playthrough, probably, unless I just, you know, kind of start referring to my prior notes, which aren't complete, but when you get memories that provide, like, you know, enough of a given aspect to reach one of these like 5, 10, 15 thresholds, is to just kind of throw the skill and an element and, you know, memories or other materials into a desk or a crafting bench to try to discover different crafting recipes, what's available to you with those skills. Some skills are more useful than others, but you know, part of the game is kind of figuring that out. Currently, oh, and then one more thing about the crafting is once you get past the sort of like apprentice level stuff, there are very specific things that you need to provide for particular recipes, and that is these secondary things here. So there's a lot of like sort of experimentation and puzzling out what might be required for those. That's where other crafting stations beyond the desks come in handy, because they'll take different materials And then one further thing about that is there are often hints provided as you read some of these books, and sometimes those hints even directly pertain to the skill that the book is providing. Not always, but in a lot of cases, like the book will the content of the text of the book might give a hint as to what you might need for a given recipe craftable by that skill. Kind of neat, and one of the, I think, more fun things about this game and playing it and kind of discovering all of that stuff. That said, we're generating another memory. We don't have much time left in this day, and I think the last thing we'll do is just catalog another baronial period book. And I think this, I might call it here after we finish this day. Oh, yeah, okay. So we can contaminate elements by cataloging books. So that will be interesting to deal with. We have Dehors Book 1. It has a keeper skin, like infection. This book is blotched with keeper skin, a luminous fungus that grows in the wood we see in sleep and enters the world when a dreamer inhales its spores. Keeper skin contamination can affect your Arab and core and spread to nearby objects. You can remove it with a skill that's effective against corruptions if you provide at least 7 nectar. My fingertips are puffy and discolored. Now my fingers are tapping. The book is infected with keeper skin, and where it's weakened the skin of my soul, a Duandrazon has attached itself. Or has a malady, this item is... Or Duandratic. Duandracy is a kind of distraction or of inspiration. Is a kind of distraction or of inspiration or of possession. In the wind, in the sea, in the crackle of flames, there's a music only I can hear. And when I give it too much attention, the world grows red as a rose. So our core now is maladied. Something has snared or sickened my soul. Soul cards can be malady tainted when you're exposed to dangerous influences, sometimes when you fail in a task. Maladies cannot be exhausted, but your soul is altered and weakened, and there can be serious consequences if they go untreated. Let's see. So, instead of providing what core normally provides, which is 2 heart and 1 grail, it currently only provides 1 heart. But that's not the worst thing to have happened, because we have our other core. That's not a terrible thing. And this is an important note. Maladies cannot be exhausted. So one thing that we can do, I mean, this core, we can still use it to do things in the game. We might explore that in the future. Like, we can use it to catalog books. We can use it to look at objects around the house. It's not all downside, especially since we are not losing access to a full element. We had a core, so of the elements that we have, this is probably one of the better ones that this could have happened to. And if we want, we can cure it. This malady can be cured with bed rest, something suitable to drink, and this much moth aspect to distract the possessing presence. Now, cure an element, we can do that in a bed. However, this bed does not have innately will not accept moth skills, so we would need some overlap. And currently we only have our Tryst, which means which we can't even use. So the 5 moth needs to come from skill, memory, or wait, no. Oh, we can use an element of the soul there. Okay, so we have 2 from the Tryst, so we would need to make up the remaining 3 from a skill, memory, and a restorative. The restorative says is required, something suitable to drink. Restorative for rest and recovery, something that will help you recover from maladies if you use it in bed with sufficient suitable power aspects, especially, but not exclusively, if it has useful power aspects itself. So, ideally, some kind of food or drink that has the moth aspect. Now, we do have access to that already in the Shinchuk mead, but it's kind of might be a little overkill using this, which has 6 moth aspect, which might be more useful for unlocking a house or a room deeper in the house that requires a high amount of moth, because we can give this to an assistant. So I think for now, you know, I'm fine with leaving our core maladied until we find another way to cure it, or, you know, we'll see. We might make use of it in other ways in the meantime. Let's go ahead and finish talking to Reverend, unlock that last room, and then, like I said, I think I'm gonna probably call it there for the night. So, we got another memory hindsight, that's fine. Let's go ahead and have him unlock the dimly lit chamber. Van Loren's old protections hang heavy in the air here, clotting the air with shadows. I'll need counter influences to unwind them. Let's not forget to, I think, no, yes, we can do this, because it has scale. Cool. What we might do with that, I am not yet sure. We'll find a use for it, probably. Can use it to get up the Grand Ascent. Or maybe we might want to get into the Long Tower. Second floor, we'll see. We'll have to puzzle that out once I return to this. And speaking of that, I think... So, tomorrow my intention is to play the Traveling at Night demo. I would like to stream it, so I probably will if I can get myself to hit the start streaming button. Sometimes I struggle with that. but I would like to stream some of that. I'm gonna play it either way. If I don't stream it, apologies for playing it off stream, but sometimes I just don't quite have it in me. I would like to try to get more consistent about streaming on a schedule, doing it on a consistent basis, but it's hard to get that habit going. Am I dropping frames? What's going on? Kinda looks like it is, but I'm not sure. Can't actually tell. I would have to look at the stream. I'll have to watch that back. Anyway, yeah, let me read this last room, in case I still am coming through clearly. The reading room. Visitors were usually permitted this far into the house and no farther. In the days when the librarians commanded the services of the fine takers, visitors were sometimes even left unsupervised. So, got another desk and a bunch of books. I will try to remember if I come back to this to read that. And then, just a day. Yeah, I think we're gonna save Synergist one. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I remember that name was cute. Anyway. Myself as this little sleeping guy is. I just want to say thanks for tuning in and watching. If you feel like it, please go ahead and drop me a follow or a like or subscribe over on YouTube. It would help out, just in terms of the algorithm and stuff like that. Again, I hope to stream tomorrow, and as far as returning to this game and this save in particular, I think maybe after I go through the Traveling at Night demo, I wouldn't mind returning here to Ash House and continuing this save. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good night.